Hello, and welcome to A Mind of Her Own. This is the second episode of my series, Guilt Free for Real. Today, I wanted to talk to you about something that I'm asked about a lot on podcasts and interviews, people who've read the book. Is guilt always bad, right? The topic of the book, the name of the book being Guilt Free suggests that we're trying to eliminate any and all guilt. What I want us to be free of is this really difficult guilt that's constant, that's broadly generalized, this maladaptive guilt that is telling us we constantly need to do more, that we're falling behind, that we're just not measuring up. Interestingly, when I was researching guilt, what I learned is that guilt actually can be adaptive. That in fact, we have expressed and felt this very difficult emotion for eons. In fact, it might be one of the important reasons, among other social emotions such as embarrassment or shame. Guilt may be one of the reasons that we've been able to become larger and larger communities, to collaborate, to work together to really enhance the success of our species. Why is that the case? Because what guilt does is it helps us to connect when it's used in moderation, in adaptive circumstances. That seems counterintuitive, but let me explain. So guilt, essentially, we feel when we believe we've done something wrong. And if we believe we've harmed someone, that we've done something that's hurt them or made life more difficult, we feel guilt. That doesn't feel good. It also pushes us to try and do something about it. We want to relieve that feeling of guilt, and that can lead to things like apologies, attempts to repair, maybe make up for it, or try to learn for next time to not do that again. This is an adaptive type of guilt. We all need to be able to feel that type of guilt, because without it, it's actually going to make it much harder for us to connect. If we hurt someone and we see that they are hurt and we don't feel anything about that at all, you can see how that would cause real problems in relationships, and certainly does. You don't have to be entirely absent of guilt to know that if someone has done something that's wronged you or that upset you, and they don't seem to be at all bothered by it or feel guilty about it at all, that can really hurt and really make you question how much they care. So this type of guilt can be adaptive for everyone. When it becomes maladaptive, though, is when it's not based on a particular situation or circumstance. Okay, I've made this error, I want to try and make up for it. But rather, I just feel constantly like the things that I'm doing are not as good as they should be. I'm not doing enough. I'm falling behind. I've let people down. I'm letting myself down. And I find that the women that I've worked with in my practice, and certainly even in my personal life, my own experience, has been that women are more likely to feel this sort of constant, overwhelming sense of guilt. Guilt in these situations does just what it does in adaptive guilt. And that guilt, even when it's maladaptive, pushes us to try and do something to make up for it, right? We want to relieve ourselves of this uncomfortable feeling. But what I think can happen then, what I see happening then in women's lives, is they take on more and more. They become hyper competent and taking on all the tasks, the cognitive load, meaning remembering all the appointments and things we need to pick up and things we need to plan and prepare for, that we are taking on more and more. And those in our lives are stepping back and saying, okay, if you've got this, then I guess I won't need to help or support in that way. But it's counterproductive, right? Because the more we add on, we still believe we need to do all of those things perfectly, and then we perpetually feel like we're falling short. The reason I wanted to write this book about guilt is I really wanted women to know that they are not failing, that falling short of an unreachable ideal is not failure. And what we can learn how to do is shift this intense maladaptive guilt. So I talked last time about the guilt equation, how we can kind of learn to examine our guilt. So if we have a guilty thought, let's say my guilty thought is, you know what, I had a sore shoulder this morning, I didn't go to the gym, and now I feel guilty because I was supposed to. I was going to go to this class, and now I've let myself down. Let me examine, if the guilt equation is our expectations minus our perceived reality, let me examine that guilty thought. What is my expectation? It's that even when I am uncomfortable, when I'm hurting, when I have a really sore muscle, maybe a strain, that I should push through that and continue to go to the gym no matter what. That I should ignore my own pain to go and exercise. On the other side, what's that my perceived reality is that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing to stay healthy. However, let me think about this past week. Have I taken a walk somewhere? Have I tried to eat some healthy foods? Have I maybe gone to the gym? Have I taken a bike ride? What are the things that I'm already doing? And why am I sweeping all of those under the rug and saying, well, I'm just not doing anything right when it comes to my body? So it's important when we think about that guilt that we know both sides of that equation and we evaluate it. Also, what expectations do I want to hold for myself in this area? My expectation is that I will listen to my body. Check. My expectation is that the next time when I am feeling better, that I will try and get to the gym, that I will try to do something healthy for my body. But I want to set expectations based on my own values and what I think is reasonable, not some comparison to some idealized version online or even in my own head of what I imagine that I should be doing. So this type of maladaptive guilt we can really interrogate by looking at our expectations and our perceived reality. Another question I'm often asked is, why do women seem to have so much more guilt than men? It's such a complicated answer, but I really want to hit on some key points. Number one, women, girls from a very young age are socialized to feel guilty. We are socialized to be there to take care of everyone around us, to be able to sort of read their minds, read their emotions, and really try to protect them from those and change those and improve their lives. That we're taught that to be valuable or loved, we need to look a certain way. We need to act a certain way. We need to have self-control. We need to be able to put forth this image of really having it all together. And unfortunately, what this can then lead to is guilt. For men, I think it's a different pressure. Of course, men experience guilt. And like I said, it can be adaptive. But I think there are different expectations on men. And among those expectations, I think there are different emotions that men are socialized to experience and are allowed to experience without anyone kind of looking at them strangely. I think guilt is one that women express all the time. This is a very common discussion. I feel so guilty. I didn't go to this thing with my mom the other day. I feel so guilty. I haven't been cooking dinner at home. I feel so guilty. I was trying to do something at work and ended up missing an event with my partner. So I think recognizing that this can definitely come up in women's lives and is an acceptable emotion for us to express. Anger might be less so. For men, on the other hand, I don't think that guilt is one that's as acceptable. Maybe it's anger, frustration, criticism. Maybe there are other ways that they cope with not believing they're meeting the expectations that they set. But they also don't exist in the same environment where the expectations are that they should be taking care of everyone else in addition to themselves, and that's the natural order. This sort of natural maternal instinct or womanly instinct is that my needs are put last and I take care of others first. So I don't think that it's fair to say men don't experience guilt. But I think this constant and intense maladaptive guilt is something that we really have been taught to experience throughout our lives. Another reason I think that guilt can become so common in women's lives is that it does protect us from some other more difficult emotions, such as grief, sadness, anger, fear. And we'll talk more about that in a future episode. But for now, I just want you to keep in mind that socialization, we've been taught to experience guilt. That some guilt can be adaptive in small amounts in the right situation, but most of what women are experiencing is this feeling of constant guilt, demonstrated by words like always, never, should. It's important to know that this is not something we're creating in ourselves. In future episodes, we'll talk more about the specific types of expectations that women seem to face. And it does seem that women have more guilt in their lives than men. So my goal in this book is to understand, where is this coming from? Why are we feeling so much of this emotion? And how can we start to learn what our particular triggers are, right? Your triggers for guilt may be very different from mine. So I hope you continue to listen. If you're interested in learning more about guilt-free, it's available broadly. My favorite website, bookshop.org, allows you to purchase through independent booksellers in your area, though your local library may carry it. For listeners out there, if you do have a medical concern, please do reach out to your healthcare provider. This episode is only for informational purposes. I hope that you are well and take good care.